Break these 13 habits before they ruin your life. Habits that will ruin your life today. This video highlights habits that will ruin your life if they are not tamed before they take root. They will completely overwhelm and destroy your life. Being consumed by the past. 1. Being consumed by the past. Each of us has a past, and we will always have it because it shows us where we have been, where we are, and where we are headed. No one can deny that being consumed by the past takes us away from the present moment. It keeps us stagnant and makes us less productive, whether it's at our workplaces, companies, schools, or even in our marriages. You might still hear a father or mother complaining about how beautiful their life was before they got married. In life, there will be good and bad memories, but make sure the bad memories and experiences don't hit you hard every time and leave you desperate because you wish the past could be reversed. This desire to correct the past, while still in the present, poisons our current efforts and obscures what we can achieve in the long run. Whether it's decisions and actions you regret, try and learn to live in the present. In the present, there are many avenues and possibilities for an improved life. Have the courage to leave the past behind because it is not the past that determines our future, but the present moment. Act now. Blaming and escaping responsibilities. 2. Blaming and always escaping responsibilities. It's very easy to blame people for the situations and circumstances we find ourselves in. Some things, like where we were born, the cities we grew up in, the parents who raised us, and the schools we attended, cannot be changed. But once you are mature enough, you have the opportunity and chance to rewrite the story of your life. Perhaps you grew up in a humble family where affording basic necessities was out of the question. You might feel stuck in your profession and can't find a reason to smile because you were forced to pursue a certain career. Perhaps you got pregnant while still young and in school, and you feel that a happy marriage is not a possibility. Perhaps you got married as a second wife and see no progress in the union, and sometimes you feel like you made a wrong decision. Yes, it may be true that you did, but now accept it and take responsibility. Remarry and get your marriage back on track. Blaming and justifying yourself does not fix the mess, it only creates an illusion that we are right instead of choosing to blame everyone. You can choose today to continue moving forward and refuse to give up, hoping that good days will come. A hero will always take responsibility for all their actions and decisions. Negative self-talk. 3. Negative self-talk. In most cases, negative self-talk is seen as a normal thing, but it's not, and it usually tries to justify itself in many instances without us realizing it. It causes grave damage without our knowledge. Have you ever found yourself in a group of people, whether for events, a family gathering, or even a wedding function, and you were given a chance to say a few words? Can you remember what you said to a friend or family member afterward? Oh yes, you remember telling them that your speech wasn't powerful, that you were not used to public speaking, or that for some families where they come from, you might hear a brother or sister say, "In our family, one has passed math, so why should I pass it? We're not a family of difficult things." Perhaps you told yourself, "I'm stupid, and I knew I would fail. I'm only good at languages." These kinds of disparaging statements usually kill someone's potential and make them believe they are not intelligent, which is not true. Negative self-talk can be overcome when we learn the power of saying positive words to ourselves. I'm good at public speaking. I'm beautiful. I'm a good cook. I have talent. These are just some examples of positive affirmations. A positive word or compliment to yourself can change and reshape your life. Where you thought you were weak and fragile, you may discover that you are strong and powerful. I hope that from today, you remember that you are capable. Procrastination. 4. Procrastination. Have you ever heard someone say, "I just keep procrastinating because it's not the right time," or have you, as an individual, put off a certain task to the point that it becomes a problem? I'm sure you know someone who got a scholarship and kept pushing it forward year after year until the scholarship sponsor withdrew it, and the excuse was that they were the only one who could manage the office. Or perhaps you feel that the moment you go to advance your studies, someone will help you take your position. We could spend years trying to justify ourselves that it is indeed right that we stick to that position a bit longer, but the truth of the matter is, it's something that you are probably afraid of. If it's not fear, then tell me what's still holding you back from attempting that task. I can legitimately assume that it has something to do with fear. Always keep this in mind: the more you know, the less you fear. Take some time and reflect. Perhaps you are a student and keep putting off studying a certain subject because it's full of math, and when exams are near, now is the time for you to study it. Because continuing to put off a subject until that time and becoming serious only the night before exams is not doing us any good. You might never know what you could have achieved if you hadn't procrastinated. In every life, there comes a moment to make a decision. To accept such a moment is to succeed, but refusing or avoiding them means failure. Now is the time for you to start doing what you could have done many years ago. The ball is in your court. Thinking without acting. 5. Thinking without acting. Without action, the greatest resource for every person is their ability to think. Thinking should always be encouraged, whether at school, at home, during the commute, when alone, or even during a busy day. Always think about your future, your career, your family, your activities, and your spiritual life. The problem arises when we think without putting that thinking into action. I've always heard people say that the moment their wife left them is when they started thinking. What these people mean is that they started acting. Thinking alone is not enough. Thinking can only be helpful if you act. Have you ever imagined what could have happened if people like Einstein hadn't thought and put that thought into practice? We might not have discovered the intricacies of nuclear energy. And if Michael Faraday had only thought about magnetism and not put his thinking into action, engineering students might not be enjoying the study of electromagnetic induction. Absolutely not. What would happen if David Baltimore hadn't thought and put his thought into practice? HIV patients might not have survived this far. I don't think so. And if researchers and scientists, after thinking, decided not to risk their lives to study the coronavirus, we might not have gotten a vaccine for COVID-19. And if they feared the risk of contracting it, thinking can only be of value and importance if we act. As the common saying goes, it only takes one man to think and act to change the world. Addiction. 6. Addiction to alcohol and drugs. When you look back to when you weren't yet abusing drugs, how was your life? How was your relationship with your family? How did your friends treat you? I'm sure you will agree with me that people appreciated your presence and saw you as a role model. Drug and alcohol addiction has caused you much harm as a user and those around you. The truth is, you might never know how your alcohol consumption habits have affected them, but always know that it could be that you can't get married or are divorced because of your drinking habits. It could also be that you caused an accident on the day you chose to resort to drinking. Perhaps you can't find a good job because of your alcohol consumption habits. Drug addiction can cause much more, reaching effects that can be irreversible. Stand up today and let go of the bottle. It is possible to stop abusing substances and start living a new life today, free from any addiction. Living someone else's life. 7. Living someone else's life. Most people today want to live and enjoy life to the fullest, and that's a good thing. The problem arises when we start to imitate other people's lifestyles. This comes into play when we change our walking styles and our dressing styles to resemble a certain high society person. When they change their hairstyle, we change ours. When they go on vacation to Dubai, we also visit the Middle East. On the streets, you'll hear both the old and young generations with the slogan "Fake it till you make it." The truth is, this slogan doesn't take us anywhere. Living someone else's life can be stressful, and you can't afford to cope with their standards, and this always leads to depression and, in most cases, drags individuals to use any means to get the money to still remain in the game. When you decide to live someone else's life, have you ever asked yourself who lives yours? Most of us don't want to be an ordinary person. I wonder why even little children beg their parents to buy them smartphones, and the parents always go ahead and purchase the devices for them. Living someone else's life is a time bomb. I'm sure you know someone who went into debt to buy a Lamborghini just because their friend bought one. What about the young man who sold land to buy a car because his friends in the city own one? What about that lady who dropped out of college to become a celebrity? I want you to stop and think, and then proceed to ask yourself, who am I? Am I an original or just a copy of someone else's life? There are traits in your life that aren't yours. How did they come about? I'm sure even your new clothing purchases were because your friends bought the same clothes at Christmas. I'm not telling you to burn them, but what I'm saying is, live your life. The neighborhoods and societies we come from shouldn't disturb us to an extent. We think we must have everything to be seen as civilized. Whoever lives his life lives the best. Spending too much time on social media. 8. Spending too much time on social media. How would life be without social media? It could be very boring, right? Especially when you don't have company. You see those feelings of loneliness on your face. Most of us can't sleep without chatting. Data packets today have become a necessity. I have a cousin named Justin who can't sleep without logging into Facebook. For him, it would be better to be served only black tea, not because he hates milk tea, but just to save the snack money only to buy data. And I'm sure he's not the only one who could also sacrifice part of your food money just for the same thing. Spending too much time on social media can be detrimental to our health and can also damage our relationship with those who are dear to us. Imagine a situation where a husband and wife in a house have no time for family issues but can spend several hours on social media. Most marriages are on the verge of collapsing because of this animal called social media. You can count how many times you've visited your social media accounts since the morning. I know you've lost count, which shows us how much time we dedicate to these platforms and deny our studies, marriages, businesses, and professions the attention they deserve. Social media should not be a base subject. It should not be allowed to take family time. It should be used only when necessary and in a good sense. I know you are in a dilemma and wondering how you can stop spending so much time on social media. You can set priorities, and through this, you can master social media, or otherwise, it will master you. Getting too many sunburns. 9. Getting too many sunburns. The commitment to maintaining that tan skin may seem fantastic, but there is a downside. It starts to age the skin prematurely, destroys the fibers that keep the skin elastic and looking fantastic, and, more importantly, just a few sunburns can increase the chances of skin cancer. Break the habit by creating the habit of applying sun protection, using a high SPF sun protection to protect the skin from harmful sun rays. You can get that tanned look with self-tanners without the risk of cancer. Constantly skimping on sleep. 10. Constantly skimping on sleep. Surviving on just a few hours of sleep can really affect your mood, concentration, and even your immune system. Sleep loss can affect your body's ability to fight germs and pathogens. It can also lead to an increase in the stress hormone cortisol, which can trigger stress eating and cause weight gain, which certainly increases blood pressure. Break the habit by getting at least 7 to 8 hours of sleep during the night. Irresponsible spending. 11. Irresponsible spending of money. It takes a lot of hustle to make clean money. It's like climbing a hill with a heavy load on your back, but spending it is so easy that sometimes I wonder if I've lost part of the money. I'm sure you've gone to a mall and bought items that didn't interest you. Planning to purchase and learning financial discipline is something money can't teach you. You can only learn it when you've already spent down to the last cent. Sometimes you might go on a trip and end up spending all the money on things that don't matter. The worst scenario is when you spend all the money, including the return ticket to the city, and end up stuck. So, what do? Blame your spending. Before going to the mall or store, first plan which items you need most. Planning here means writing a budget on what is important and requires purchasing. Sometimes our children can lead us to unnecessary spending. This happens when your kids cling tightly to a bicycle in a supermarket, and because you don't want embarrassment, you end up buying it even if they have others at home. Another scenario could be when you decide to take your wife to the supermarket to buy only shoes, and she ends up asking for more clothes and other kitchen stuff. Despite others returning, the irresponsible spending of the house is not the one dressed in red pants that you can easily identify, but it is the occasional spending that we find day after day. If you can't manage your spending from today and stop the abuse, you will be in a much healthier state mentally and financially. Self-complacency. 12. Self-complacency. How many times have you felt superior to others? How many times have you felt that you are more talented and therefore don't need the contribution of other people in your life? I agree, many times self-complacency leads one to think and live as if they don't need others. Self-sufficiency pushes people not to be able to unlearn and relearn, and as a result of that, they continue to remain. Less productive self-complacency leads one to lack curiosity, and because of this lack, they hide in a position of not questioning conventional wisdom and beliefs to ask what would happen if we didn't change this habit. It develops and makes one impulsive to new knowledge and information. Letting your body run free. 13. Letting your body run free. Frankly speaking, there are moments when your body dictates what to do, and in these moments, people do strange things they later regret. Not being able to master your senses pushes your body to work against your objectives and interests, allowing them to dominate and define your life. Not being able to master yourself can lead to the development of other habits that will ruin your life and make you lead a less productive life. Not mastering yourself and allowing your body to run free can result in the following. 1. Emotional indiscipline. Emotional indiscipline is when you react without thinking twice and having a loose tongue. You find yourself offending the wrong people, and sometimes the damage of your words can be very harmful. In most cases, it can destroy good relationships and create bad blood. So, before you speak, visualize the repercussions of your words. 2. Mental indiscipline. This presents itself as a result of the inability to govern your thoughts. Not conditioning your thoughts consciously and aligning them with your declared objectives usually leads to the failure to achieve set objectives within a certain time frame. You can decide today to discipline your mind, and your perspectives will change. 3. Sleeping around. When an individual is given too much freedom, it could be at the workplace, at school, or at home. People usually tend to abuse such freedom. When you let your body run free, the body is usually tempted to indulge in sexual activities, and in most cases, when the impulse is strong, individuals have a higher likelihood of sleeping around. Sleeping around is a very bad habit that can lead to unwanted pregnancies, contraction of sexually transmitted diseases, and sometimes makes it impossible for one to settle in a marriage. Instead of sleeping around, channel that drive towards productive and creative activities. That's all for the video. I hope you guys enjoyed it and found value in it. What was your experience with the topic covered in this video? Tell us about it in the comments, we are curious to know. And if you have any doubts or questions, don't hold back. Leave a comment, even just a simple like would be perfect, but most importantly, subscribe to the channel to stay informed about upcoming releases.